Hello, guys. Hope everyone is doing fine today. And I am back with some more news articles for today. And let's start with them. And just before I start, I just want to tell you, let me know what other videos you want me to do. What are the other things that you want me to prepare for you guys. I would be preparing something very specific for a few topics like the BRICS and then belt initiative and all those things, but that will take some time. Okay, so just let me know what you would like to see. Getting started with the news articles. Azerbaijan tipped to host COP29 climate talks, says Russia backs it. Azerbaijan has said that it will be hosting next year's UN climate summit after striking a late deal with longtime adversary Armenia over its bid. Diplomatic sources have said the Azeri bid looked set to win support from other nations, though the issue is still being negotiated at the COP28 climate summit in Dubai. The decision over who will take over from current COP28 host, the United Arab Emirates, has been in an unprecedented geopolitical deadlock after Russia said it would veto any European Union country's bid to host. The EU has sanctioned Moscow over its invasion of Ukraine. Next, Indonesia eyes visa waivers for 20 countries, including US, China, and India. Okay, so Indonesia is now considering granting visa free entry to nationals of 20 countries, including the United States, China, Australia, India, South Korea, Germany, Britain, and France to boost its tourism and economy. Its tourism minister said on Thursday the government will finalize the list of countries included in the provision within 1 month, according to a statement. Minister Sandiaga Uno said the president had instructed the government to consider the visa waiver as a means of boosting the economy, tourist visas, and investment. Next, Australia's proposed Koala Haven faces logging threat. Nestled in old eucalyptus forest in Australia's New South Wales region, an estimated 15% of the state's dwindling koala population is said to win some protection from as early as 2025, but environmentalists say that might be too late to shore up the habitat of these iconic Australian animals. The state government plans to merge 3,15,000 hectares of national park and public forest land into the Great Koala National Park, covering an area twice the size of London. That's a very good move. EU should consider sanctions on Hamas Israeli settler violence. The European Union should consider toughing sanctions on Hamas and its finances and imposing sanctions on Israeli settlers responsible for violence in the West Bank, bloc's diplomatic service says in a paper prepared for EU foreign ministers. The orientation note sets out options for ministers to consider at a meeting in Brussels on Monday as they contemplate further responses to the Israel Hamas war in Gaza and preparations for the time after the war. We know what terrible condition it is in Israel as the Israel Hamas war is continuing and there is no end in sight. Fighting is going on and it's killing thousands of people every day almost. We do not know the exact number. However, some sources have said that thousands of people are dying almost every single day. Next, Italian opera singing added to UNESCO World Heritage List, Cultural Heritage List, a prestigious accolade for the 4 centuries old art mixing costume, drama, and music. So, Italian opera singing has been added to UNESCO World Heritage List as the Cultural Heritage List and a prestigious accolade for this art. UN Culture Agency UNESCO said it had included opera under its category of intangible cultural heritage, which further features other famed Italian practices such as pizza making. All of us love pizza, right? So they have also included pizza making. Italian opera developed around the late 1500s and early 1600s in Florence at the court of the Medici family. It typically involves intricate plots, elaborate staging, and virtuoso singing. So, opera singing is not easy. If you have watched videos of singers singing in concerts, giving out performances, you would know it is very difficult singing at such a high pitch, at such a high range with a lot of variations. So, Italian opera has been added to UNESCO World Heritage as an intangible cultural heritage, just as pizza making has been. That's a good addition to the world, to the UNESCO World Heritage. Otherwise, if these things are not made, such precious art would be lost with time. There are so much of artistic forms that are losing their fame. Why? Because it's not practiced, and because it's not practiced, it is not encouraged. People are forgetting it. People are very rapidly losing touch of those things. Yemen's Houthis say they launched ballistic missiles at Israel. Yemen's Houthi group launched several ballistic missiles at military posts in the southern Israeli city of Eilat, the group's military spokesperson said in a statement on Tuesday. Earlier Wednesday, the Mason, a US Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, shot down a drone that originated from a part of Yemen controlled by the Houthi group. A US official said there were no injuries or damage, and it was not clear what the drone was targeting. Okay, let me have a sip of my tea. ASEAN 3 agree on new financing facility to fend off crisis. Deputies of the ASEAN 3 group of nations agreed on Thursday to set up a new regional lending facility to respond to emergencies in the region amid rising uncertainty over a global economic slowdown and elevated US interest rates. The ASEAN 3 grouping tags on Japan, China, and South Korea to the Association of Southeast Asian Nations. Honduras secures 609 million development bank loan to improve highways. Honduras was looking for that much of amount to develop its economies, to develop its roads and its highways, and it has been able to do so successfully. A Central American Development Bank has said that it had approved a 6.607 million loan for Honduras aimed at boosting transportation throughout the Central American country. The loan will fund a government program aimed at rehabilitating and widening 308 kilometers of highway on 5 different routes in the country's northeast, the Central American Bank for Economic Integration said in a statement. So basically, most of the highways would be made properly, they would be reconstructed, the ones that are in bad condition, and the goal is mainly to make more highways in the north and in the east. It's all the directions, but it's mainly aimed at the north and the east where there is a requirement of more highways for connectivity. Okay. Italian road and airport operator Mondi's explores India Australia expansion. Italian infrastructure group Mondi's aims to strengthen its toll roads presence in the United States, Chile, and Europe, and is exploring expansion in India and Australia. Mondi's, which is controlled by the Benetton family's holding company, Edizion, and was previously known as Atlantia, operates motorways mainly through Spanish toll road group Arbitis and also runs airports. It has just acquired Autovia del Camino in northern Spain and won a tender to operate 4 new toll roads in Puerto Rico with a 2.85 billion bid. Trafigura sets aside 127 million provision for Brazil. Global commodities trader Trafigura is setting aside 127 million to cover a possible US Department of Justice fine to end a probe into improper payments by the company in Brazil roughly a decade ago. The Geneva-based company is also facing charges in Switzerland for alleged bribery in Angola. The company understands that the DOJ investigation stem in part from statements made by Mariano Marcondes Ferraz, a former Trafigura employee, as part of a plea agreement following his conviction in Brazil. UK paid Rwanda additional 126 million for contested migrant plan. Britain paid Rwanda an additional 100 million pounds in April on top of 140 million pounds it previously sent as the bill for its contested plan to relocate asylum seekers to the East African country continues to rise. The Rwanda scheme is at the center of British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's strategy to deter illegal migrants, but as yet none have been moved there because of legal battles since the scheme was announced in 2022. People who are using abusive language can just leave the channel. Nobody has forced you to watch it. I'm doing it for a lot of my viewers who have requested it because they don't get to read newspapers and they would watch the video or the live that I'm doing once they return home late at night to get an idea of what has happened. So if you are not interested, if you think you can use abusive language towards me and then I would stop, doing this, please don't. It reflects what kind of cultural background you have, what kind of parents have raised you. So please don't use abusive language. If you don't like it, just leave my channel and go. This is for the benefit of all those who have requested me to update them on a daily basis of the current news. That is what I'm doing. I am doing my bit for my viewers who want it. Those who don't want to watch it are absolutely free to leave my channel instead of abusing it. The more they abuse, I would report them. That's it. Ukrainian troops train in Poland for harsh winter warfare. In a snow-covered field in western Poland, Ukrainian soldiers are being trained in trench warfare just days before being sent to the front in what has become a grinding war of attrition against Russia. Many organizations were invited uh, to watch the training, which was conducted by soldiers from Poland, France, and Belgium in Westrin, around 40 kilometers from the German border. Most of the people have actually no military experience and they are taught how to execute some basic tactics, said one Ukrainian soldier. We are taught how to use weapons in urban areas and it stretches. The training was conducted by Combined Arms Training Combat, which was established as part of the European Union's effort to aid Ukraine's military. Okay. China's leaders pledge to spur domestic demand economy recovery in 2024. China will spur domestic demand and consolidate and enhance the economic recovery in 2024. The Politburo, a top decision-making body of the ruling Communist Party, was quoted by state media as they reported on Friday. The government has in recent months unveiled a flurry of measures to shore up a feeble post-pandemic economic recovery that has been held back by a property crisis, local government debt risks, slow global growth, and geopolitical tensions. Taiwan intelligence says China leadership discussed election interference. Taiwan intelligence says China leadership discussed election interference. Senior Chinese leaders held a meeting in early December to coordinate government efforts to sway upcoming elections in Taiwan, according to intelligence gathered on the island, part of a campaign Taiwan officials see as voting interference. Taiwan officials have warned that Beijing is trying to nudge voters towards candidates who seek closer China ties in the January 13 presidential and legislative election, which is happening as China ramps up military and political pressure to try to force the democratically governed island to accept its sovereignty. Indonesia president suspects human trafficking behind increased Rohingya arrivals. Indonesia strongly suspects human trafficking is behind a recent increase in arrivals of Rohingya Muslims on its territory. Its president has revealed on Friday, promising to work with international groups to deal with the issue. More than 1,200 Rohingya people, a persecuted minority from Myanmar, have landed ashore in Indonesia since November, according to the United Nations Refugee Agency in Indonesia, prompting concern among local communities about the scale of exodus this year. We know the plight of the Rohingyas and how they have suffered in Myanmar. Now, Indonesia is worried about a batch of Rohingyas who have arrived in their country, and they are scared that this might spread some kind of violence in the country and can lead to a lot of instability. UNHCR, United Nations Refugee Agency, is working within Indonesia to take a prompt action on this. McDonald's Australia hit with class action over unpaid overtime. An Australian workers' union has filed a class action against McDonald's local unit, alleging that the restaurant chain asked current and former employees to work before and after they restored shifts for free. The SDA Union for Retail, Fast Food and Warehouse Workers alleged that McDonald's did not pay about 25,000 managers and supervisors across its 1,000 stores over 6 years and is seeking 100 million in back pay. Apple to move key iPad engineering resources to Vietnam. Apple is now moving key iPad and engineering resources to Vietnam. Apple has started allocating product development resources for iPad to Vietnam, Nikkei has reported, citing sources briefed on the matter. Apple is working with China's BYD, a key iPad assembler, to move new product introduction resources to Vietnam, adding that this is the first time the company has shifted NPI resources to Vietnam for such a core device. Engineering verification for test production of an iPad model will start around mid-February and the model will be available in the second half of next year, it has said. We know how important Vietnam has become these days due to the enormous growth of their chip sector, the semiconductor sector industry, semiconductor chip industry. Many companies have moved to Vietnam for their engineering and IT requirements, and now Apple has moved its iPad engineering resources to Vietnam. Okay. Chinese developer Shimao trades flat after issuing plan to revamp offshore debt. Shares in Chinese property developer Shimao Group were flat on Friday after it issued a restructuring plan to reduce up to 7 billion in offshore debt, becoming the latest developer in China to try to revamp its debt. The developer, with around 11.7 billion in offshore notes, bonds and other credit facilities, has been pushing forward plans to revamp its debts over the past few months, Shimao said in a filing to the Hong Kong Stock Exchange late on Thursday. South Korea's Naver Cloud sees exports doubling on AI boom. The cloud computing and artificial intelligence arm of South Korea's Naver expects its exports to at least double in 3 years, saying its AI services can be easily tailored to suit buyers in regions outside China and the United States. South Korea is one of the few countries with its own foundational artificial intelligence models. Tech giant Naver is also one of the only global firms with a dominant local search engine to compete with Alphabet's Google. So, I have wrapped up almost a lot of the news articles for today, and I think I haven't done the Israel Hamas war, but we will do it tomorrow. And Samiksha Sinha, please don't use abusive language, okay? You're calling me by names. How about somebody calls you by names, okay? Samiksha Sinha. This is not going to help you, okay? So please don't do it. I'm reporting you actually. Samiksha Sinha, I'll take your name again and again. You have been putting abusive messages. I have already reported you. Okay? So, if you are one of them who don't like to watch my channel, please don't come. And for the others, my viewers who look forward for my videos every single day, please stay tuned. I'll get some more news around. Maybe I'll try and do it earlier tomorrow. Tomorrow is Saturday, so I'll try and do it a bit earlier. Maybe somewhere in the afternoon. Okay? Bye and good night.